Good afternoon, everyone, and this is our State of the Village meeting. I'm your host and moderator, LaVon Mitchell. That's me. A few things before we begin, and Kevin had already mentioned it, if you could mute your phones or turn them off. We will have a question and answer, and it will be at the end of the program. So if there's any topics, you have a question, make a note of it, and we'll get to all the questions at the end. Any questions that if we run over time, anything can be sent that doesn't get answered can be sent to me, and my email address is showing there. So hopefully it's not a real full program tonight, so I think we should be able to get through most of the questions. Tonight, we're going to start with an overview of the libraries that are available in Tellico Village. There's one at Tellico Village, and there's another one in Vonore, the public library. So we're going to start out with those programs, and then we're going to hear from Harry Rucker related to the HOA, results of 2023 and accomplishments of 2023 and what he expects to do in 2024. And that'll be followed by Bob Brunetti, and then Chet will wrap up the program for us. So we will go ahead and get started with the library at Tellico Village.
Thank you. Books are roadblocks to persisting ignorance. Free books, physical or electronic, require a library. Walter Cronkite said, "Whatever the cost of libraries, the cost is cheap compared to an ignorant nation." Our library, the Tellico Village Library, started in 1987 as a book discussion group here in the Yacht Club. I'm going to give you 11 years here in the Yacht Club. Contact with the Loudoun County Library Board was in 1989, and that resulted in 500 books being donated to this book discussion group. And they met on the third floor in that little alcove where the brides get dressed. The brides didn't get dressed then. Well, I mean, they got dressed, but not in that alcove. The new library was run on an honor system. It was take a book, leave a book with those 500 books. Well, they doubled within a year, and within 2 years, they were walking on books. So they decided that they had to do something to come up with a cash flow because they were going to have to rent space. So they formed a committee in 1993, and the Friends of the Library Group was incorporated in 1995 with 95 charter members. Membership dues were the first income, and then soon followed by a used book sale. With proceeds from the dues, the book sale, preview parties, auctions, and other fundraising ideas, the Friends signed a lease in 1997 for 1,000 square feet in Lakeside Plaza. At that time, the library was still a private Tellico Village organization. However, in October of 1997, the library became part of the Loudoun County Library System. That meant a library director and open to all the county residents as a public library. The POA agreed to pay the annual Loudoun County library fees, and by 2001, the library had again outgrown its quarters, and by 2002, the Lakeside Plaza location was doubled to 2,000 square feet, and the rent doubled. We had to have new shelving, new furnishings, and these were all obtained through the generosity of the community and the Friends. In 1998, the Friends were awarded the Friends of Libraries USA HarperCollins Publisher Award, and we got $10,000 to be used for book purchases. In 2000, the library received a grant from Bill and Melinda Gates from the Learning Foundation for intra-access computer workstations and support software. So that was the first setup of our computer stations in this very small place where the plays are that you now see at Lakeside. Since 2001, the library has received significant grants annually from the J&L Petway Foundation out of Knoxville. We've received numerous tech grants from the state and from the federal government. The Friends write by far the majority of these grants. In 2004, the Friends began a program to build a new library with square footage and resources capable of meeting future needs here in the community. In 2006, the Friends received $50,000 from the estate of Mary Ann Bork, who was one of the founding charter members in 1995. The POA offered a plot, but unfortunately it didn't perk, so we had to purchase land from a farmer, a nearby farmer, and there was a design for a 6,500 square foot facility. In 2011, we had groundbreaking, and the agreement with the USDA to have a low-interest, very long-term loan. Construction began in December of 2011, and the library, which was now called the Public Library at Tellico Village, opened on November 5th, 2012. In 2014, the Friends were honored again with the Friends of the Year by the Friends of Tennessee Libraries. The Friends were also awarded that year an honorable mention from the American Library Association. Since the library is in an unincorporated area of Loudoun County and has no tax base, the Friends provide most of the funds, including the mortgage, of which slightly more than $1 million is left. We pay the insurance, and we pay the operating expenses. The library director's salary and a part-time assistant's salary are paid for mostly by the county, by Loudoun County. Funds for the continuation of the library are memberships in the Friends, book sales, events, bricks for the courtyard, leaves for that beautiful donor tree that the woodworkers made, and very generous donations from residents, businesses, and community organizations. In 2021, Henry Cullen secured money from the county commission to replace our HVAC, which was very happily received. We are continuing to work diligently to maintain a library of excellence for Tellico Village and the surrounding community through outreach programs such as open lectures, and you've seen how many lectures we have now, book delivery to any homebound person in Loudoun County who desires to read. We also deliver books to any of the assisted living facilities in Loudoun County who request our services, and to the Habitat neighborhoods in both Loudoun and Lenore City. Where the Habitat houses are built, we stock, every 3 weeks, we stock little libraries in both of those Habitat neighborhoods. Most of this history was plagiarized from a short history written by Doug Chrisman in 2019, which is free for you to pick up at the front desk. Godwin said, "A truly great library has something to offend everyone." We are a truly great library as we strive to keep open to multiple viewpoints. And I want to introduce our wonderful new library director. This is Gina Mucci Jeremiah, and you're going to be singing Jeremiah Was a Bull for the rest of the week.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Billy. I do just want to give a shout out to the amazing volunteers that we have at the library, because I am constantly blown away by their dedication and their passion. They are the heart of the library, for sure. Like Billy said, my name is Gina Mucci Jeremiah, and I am, as of today, 2 weeks into the new director at the library. Thank you. So when they said they wanted me to speak about the future of the library, I said, I really don't know what I'm going to say, besides I'm still trying to learn everyone's names. So here I am, but I am extremely grateful for this opportunity to continue to grow this incredible library. And before I talk about the future, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself, since I said I am new on the scene. I am also a new villager. My husband and I moved here from Florida in January, the week before the snow. So Tennessee said, hey, welcome. This isn't normal. Don't get nervous, but you better get all-wheel drive. But that's okay. So we moved from, like I said, Florida. It was Clearwater Beach, but most people say, oh, well, you're a halfback, but we're not. We were actually both born and raised Floridians, so we are just getting out and back. So, you know, when you move, you often have a pros and cons list when you're deciding on where you want to move. And on that, major points on the plus side was having a library in my own neighborhood. Libraries have always been my happy place, and as I talk to more villagers, I find out that I'm not alone in that feeling. Carl Sagan said, our concern for the future can be tested by how well we support our libraries. And me, as a new villager, I couldn't wait to support the library in any way that I could. As soon as that moving truck pulled away, I found the directions to the library. I went straight there. I got a library card. I donated. I became a friend of the library, and I signed up to volunteer. Little did I know where I would be standing 5 months later. And I'm just super grateful to be here and to introduce myself to everybody. I've learned so much about this organization. Did you know that our library is the largest in Loudoun County? I didn't know that. And in 2023, we had the highest circulation numbers of all 5 Loudoun County libraries. So let me give you a few more stats you may not know. Last year, in 2023, we held more than 82 free programs. Billy touched on all our programs, and that averages to about 6 a month, with attendance of nearly 1,400 patrons. And these programs covered a wide range of topics, from history to health to wealth management. We have over 8,000 registered users, and that circulation number I mentioned, the 84,000 items that we checked out, that's not counting the ebooks. The downloads were almost at 52,000 for last year. So those numbers show me, and should show you, that the library is not only a crucial part of this community, but a well-loved one as well. Walt Disney said, there is more treasure in books than in all the pirate loot on Treasure Island. And as true as that is, our library is more than just books. My predecessors began many extra programs, including telescope lending, a memory care collection, and caregiver programs, and fun learning backpacks for the kids and grandkids when they come visit. My plan for the future is to not only continue these programs, but expand on them as well. I will be looking into many fun and new ideas for more alternative lending. I already have a few good ideas that I'm not going to give out just in case, but I am working on them. And we are and will continue to be a center for lifelong learning, like it is in our title. And at this time, I want to repeat something that Billy said. We are a truly great library as we strive to keep an open mind to multiple viewpoints. Along those lines, in the near future, I will be rolling out a survey to our patrons and to the community. Being a public library, like Billy mentioned, we do service all of Loudoun County and Lenoir City and Monroe County as well. So with that survey, I hope to get a broader range of understanding of the needs and wants for the future of the library. So I'd like to see how it aligns with mine as well. So if you haven't visited us recently or gone to our website, I encourage you to do so that you can see for yourself how much we have to offer this amazing community. And when you come to the library, please stop by and say hi. My office is in the back, and my door is always open. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We are, Tellico Village spans two counties, as everybody knows, Loudoun County and Monroe County. So Judy is here to tell us about Vonore Public Library.
Good afternoon. I'm Judy Bunnell. I'm a resident of Kahiti. I'm also on the board of the Friends of the Vonore Public Library. I'm one of the newest members of the board, and probably that's the reason I'm here tonight. Our library is a lovely little library, a great asset to our community. It's part of the regional library system in Tennessee, and as such, we can get, our librarians can get any volumes that we need. We have 17,124 books, and like I said, access to thousands of books through the regional system, 7 computers, which are often in use at the library. It's open Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays 9 to 5, and Saturday 10 to 1. The Vonore Library is located at 611 Church Street in downtown Vonore, right next to the police station. The community center's upstairs, and City Hall's right next door, and the beach is across the street, so it's a prime location. We have 2 part-time librarians. The Friends have started a story time on Wednesday mornings at 10:30 a.m. for children, and it's slowly growing. It goes through the school year, so that ends up being primarily children who are not yet in school or in preschool even. And we're also affiliated with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. In fact, the Imagination Library donated a big box of books. The women of the residents of Kahiti and the Friends of the Vonore Public Library have been putting on a children's summer reading program for years and years. We started this year's program this morning at 10 o'clock. Before the pandemic, there were as many as 30 to 40 children that would come to this. But since we're slowly building back, and today we had 12 children, but that's a perfect group to kind of grow. So we're excited about that. The curriculum for the summer reading program is provided by the state of Tennessee, and we plan for that camp all year long. Usually it comes out in February, and we start planning for it then. The Friends of the Vonore Public Library, which I'm representing tonight, costs $5 to become a member, and our mission is to support the Vonore Public Library and to get free books into the hands of the community. Our major fundraiser is a used book sale. We collect books all year long and sort them all year long in a shed behind the library. And this year, it's always well attended and anticipated. We sold 600 books this year and raised $1,205.50. They added a craft fair this year, and we had about a dozen vendors, and again, that money is to benefit the library. The Friends has a free presentation once a quarter. Primarily, it's local authors, historians, and local interest. The speakers are kind of represent those. This year, or this month in July, the next presentation, rather, is July 16th at 7 p.m. And Chuck Crickshank, Bluebird expert, will be our speaker. And I'm sure he's very interesting. It's free, and our presentations are usually pretty well attended. The Friends gave a free book to every child at Vonore Elementary School on the last day of school to take home, and the books were purchased by the Friends of the library. And on June 24th, we're going to sponsor a McFriend Night at the Vonore McDonald's. All the children who come in, we're going to give them a free book, and a portion of the sales that night at McDonald's is going to benefit the Friends. We've recently placed a free little library, or it's going to be placed this summer in the parking lot at the Vonore Community Center. So that's pretty much what Vonore has to offer. We love our little library, and we'd love for you to become a friend and join us over there if you'd like. Thank you.
Next, we will be hearing from Harry. Tell us about our HOA.
Thank you very much, LaVon. I appreciate all the effort you've put into this, and it shows. I also want to thank Kevin from the Tellico Village Network. He seems to always be around, and I really appreciate it, and the work he does to record these things so that people can look at them later is truly valuable and an asset to the community. Next slide. I want to start out by explaining our mission so that people know what we do and why we do it. And we're here to provide information and informative programs to the residents of Tellico Village through social fellowship, civic responsibility, and also provide a voice for homeowner concerns. Under social fellowship, we provide, next slide. Do I do it, or you got it? Okay, I'm sorry. Through social fellowship, we have HOA socials, and one of our goals this year was to improve the attendance and the quality of these socials. And Roxanne Jackson and her committee have certainly done that. We meet the second Tuesday, of every month at 5 p.m. at the Yacht Club. Everybody's invited. This is come one, come all. You don't have to be an HOA member. Just everybody come. It's a great time. The prizes have increased in value. They are really valuable prizes. And the entertainment and the contests are very good. And it shows that we basically fill up the Yacht Club each and every month. July's theme is Tacky Tourist, and I have a challenge. I'll bet you I can be more tacky than anybody else. So I'm going to try to go do that. So everybody come July and bring your cameras, I guess. Under events, Betty Fortune and her committee do a fantastic job on that. And our goal was to increase the number of events this year over last year, and we are on the way to doing that. We have increased a lot of games and those kinds of things, and trips to restaurants and et cetera. Most of our events fill up early, and we have made one change in that you must be an HOA member if you're a village resident to attend the events. And that's because we are filling up the events. And it's fairer to the HOA members that if the people that go are HOA members and not just village residents. Our second annual picnic was a huge success. The entertainment there and the food was fantastic, so I appreciate Betty and her committee for doing that. Under civic responsibility, next slide, we are improving our collaboration with the POA and new villagers. We have continuing our combined welcome orientation, and we are increasing the number of events with new villagers just to spread the risk a little bit. We can go and offer more expensive events, and we can share the number of people to go so we can sell those out, and we can then cover the cost of the events. LaVon provides information forms like this one. Our Neighborhood Watch program, we now have event coordinators in every single neighborhood. They are communicating with the Sheriff's Department, have a little story to tell how they work. It's not just what they do as a normal neighborhood event where they're checking on vacation people on vacations and homes like that in general, but they actually take a proactive role. We had an incident where some kids, 12 to 14 years old, were going up to video doorbells wearing ski masks and ringing the doorbell, and then when people would come to the door, they would say something and run away. That's a recipe for disaster. And our Neighborhood Watch took that on and through diligence and determination, basically found the kids just by watching, and kind of talked to them and brought the sheriff's department in, and it was kind of a gentle, don't do that. So I thought that was a great story. Our highway safety program now has transitioned from the HOA to the POA to give it more clout with the local governments and the local traffic authorities. Our litter angels are a big success under Annie LaCour, and they were a state award winner last year. So there was a goal there to improve that, and they did. So they won a statewide event of cleaning up 444. A lot of work goes on that road and other roads in Tellico Village. And then we had a goal to reestablish the A&E committee. We did that. They've had a couple of good events this year so far, including a Arbor Day where they gave out over 500 trees to kind of improve people's lots and get some trees there. The HOA also has members on the Tellico Village Volunteer Fire Department, Tellico Life, Staying in Tellico Village, and the various townhome association boards. And again, the HOA is an all-volunteer organization, and we had up 500 volunteers. Just about everybody that's in the HOA is a volunteer. And we appreciate that. It's wonderful to be in Tellico Village where there are so many volunteers. Next slide, voice for homeowners' concerns. We represent homeowner issues and concerns to the board, such as short-term rentals and the Bowman incident or place, where we worked and kind of worked those out, and we continue to do that. We also have representatives or liaison representatives on all 12 of the POA committees. We communicate with water and pick up their issues and communicate them to the proper place. We conduct surveys from time to time on issues in Tellico Village. The latest one was on membership. And we try to keep all HOA members informed of what's going on in Tellico Village through a neighborhood watch letters, notices, which explain what may be going on, what kind of crime is in Tellico Village, our monthly voice newsletters, and other communications on that. One goal we have not achieved yet that we're working on is membership. Our membership is down this year from last year. We still have time to meet that goal, but we just have not met it yet. So I encourage everybody to sign up to the HOA if they can do that. And again, all this information and lots more is on our HOA website. That's hoatellicovillage.com on the bottom of the slide there. So thank you very much.
Bob, what's going on with the POA board?
It's still afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Bob Bernetti. Took my picture away already. I am the president of the POA board for 2024. I've been a resident in Tellico Village for 11 plus years, and this is my third year on the board, and I'm the president this year. I first want to thank the HOA for having this and inviting me here today. And I just have an update on a lot of questions that we get asked all the time about numbers and figures, and I'm going to try to answer most of those. Tellico Village is built out 83% through May of 2024. There are an estimated 10,800 residents in Tellico Village, including Gahidi and here. And as people move in and out every day, it's hard to give you an exact number, but that's where we are approximately. Tellico Village has a total of 6,850 lots. 834 of those are in Gahidi, so there's around 6,000 lots in this part of the village, a little over 6,000 by simple math. There are presently 5,336 single-family homes. 600 of those are in Gahidi, and multifamily homes of 340. So we have about 5,700 homes or residents that are built out of the 6,800 potential. So, and of those, so there's about 1,000 lots left, more or less. 90 of those lots are owned by the POA. None of them are for sale at this point in time because they're tied up in estates or litigation of some sort. At 1.5 years ago, we had about 600 lots in inventory. We're down now to about 90, having sold about 500 over the last 4 or 5 years. The growth of the village in the last 4 years, as you all know, has been pretty much tremendous. In 2021, again, 374 permits. In 2022, 277 permits, 23, 286 permits, and so far this year through the first meeting of the ACC in June, 87. The POA in his budget, we budgeted 156 new homes for this year as part of our budgeting process, so we're pretty much right on line for that number. The buildings are going down. There was a time when I would say, no one will ever build in that lot. Well, I don't say that anymore. If you ride around Tellico Village, they're building on some lots that you wouldn't even think were lots to start with. One question we always do get asked is a building moratorium. Can we have a building moratorium? We cannot. We cannot stop someone from building on their lot. When Tellico Village was laid out back in the mid-1980s, the main part of the village, Tahiti was laid out about the 1997 or 1998. Every one of the lots was an approved building lot, and they were marketed and sold as an approved building lot. So we have no legal right to tell anybody they can't build on their lot. We do have the Architectural Control Committee, which maintains the integrity of building on the lot, the setbacks, the size of the house to some extent, placing of the house on the lot, and one problem we've run into in the last year or two is drainage. Most of the new lots that people are building on now are the much tougher lots. They're either straight down, they're pie-shaped, there are different types, there are different sizes. So if you go to an ACC meeting and the neighbors show up for a permit, the first question is drainage. How are you going to control the drainage on that lot? I don't want the water from that lot going on my land. Well, since last July, as part of the ACP Blue Book and as part of the process, an engineered draining plan has to be provided for each lot before the permit is granted. So the builder, the homeowner, whoever's building the house has to provide an engineered drainage plan so that problem will not occur before the ACC or the Architectural Control Committee will issue a permit. So because of the, I guess you would call difficulty of a lot of these lots, that's one thing the ACC has done to make sure there's not a problem in that area. The next slide. These are the houses, sales of houses between 2020 and 2023. As you can see, in 2020, 303 houses sold, 21, 323, 22, 343, and last year it was 380. And the corresponding average price, the average sales price in 2020 was $436,000. Last year it was $638,000. So the price has gone up significantly over the last 3 years. The value of your house has gone up significantly. Is there another next slide? And this one just shows the residential square foot value, property values going back to 2013. Where in 2013, the average sales price was $121.24 per square foot. Now it is $256.16 per square foot in 2023. So if you take that, if you know the square footage of your house and multiply it by 256, you have an approximate value of what your house is worth. If you're on the lake or the golf courses, it may be a little more, or in some places it may be a little less. But again, the price has gone up double plus in the last 13 years as far as the value of your properties. The home businesses and rental permits. Just give me 1 second here to get to that page. Renting your home in Tellico Village qualifies as a home business. And because it qualifies as a home business, you are required to have a permit. In the last couple of years, since I've been on the board, we've had a lot of questions concerning rental properties in the village, Airbnbs, VRBOs. There's been a lot of questions about how we regulate there, and can we regulate them? How do we regulate them? And a committee was formed about 9 months ago, which I sit on along with Chet, and actually Harry's on that committee also, and 4 other villagers, dealing with short-term rentals and long-term rentals. In Tennessee, you have the absolute right by law to rent your house. You can't stop someone from renting their house. Short-term rentals are defined as 6 months or less. We have a permit system where if you're a short-term rental at an Airbnb or a VRBO or just renting it by the month for some reason, there's a permit cost is $250 per year. The long-term is defined as 6 months or more. The cost there is $100 per year, and both need to be reviewed annually. When the rental committee first met, first task we decided to do is to find out how many rentals there actually are in Tellico Village. There was some concern that they're 10%, 15%, whatever. Well, at this point in time, we've determined there's approximately 130 rental homes in Tellico Village, which is a pretty small percentage of the overall number of houses in Tellico Village. If you read the newspaper, Norris Lake, which is a community north of here, similar to us, is 70% rentals. And we obviously didn't want to have that situation where we become a rental community. So now that we've established how many rentals there are approximately, we're still finding more. We sort of say, if you think one of your neighbors is renting their house and hasn't got a permit, turn them in. You don't have to call. You can call the office and say, I think my neighbor at so-and-so is renting their house. Is he on your rental list? Because we have a list of all the names and all the houses and the addresses, et cetera. If they're not on the list, the POA will contact that person. If they're on the list, obviously they're all set, and there's no problem. We are working on now, the committee's working on rules and regulations involving rentals and noise complaints. The biggest problem we have with the rentals, especially and there isn't that many of them, I will tell you that. There's only maybe 5 or 6 houses that there have been a lot of complaints about, and those are the VRBOs and the Airbnbs, where someone comes in for the weekend and they got 15 people in a 3-bedroom house, and they're just there to party for the weekend. It's either on the lake or they're there for some other reason or there for 5 days, and they got 6 cars in the driveway, and the music is blasting at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night, and obviously that disturbs the neighborhood. So we are working on some common sense regulations that we can enforce concerning basically noise complaints for the most part, and the rentals themselves. So that's something that the POA is actively looking at. A lot of people ask about that, and we are actively looking at it. The ACC, the Architectural Code Committee, some of you may have run afoul of this committee at some point in time dealing with permits. The ACC is working on videos at this time to help people better understand the Blue Book. The Blue Book is the Bible as far as what you can do and what you can't do on the outside of your house or when you're building your house. If you're doing anything on the outside of your house, putting in a fence, putting in a retaining wall, putting in something, anything like that, you need to get a permit. You need to go to and the permits. 95% of them are just granted because they're fully within the guidelines and there's no problem. There are some other people that just go ahead and do something without getting a permit, and then a problem arises and POA has to deal with it. These videos, the first one they're going to do is going to be on permits, when you need a permit, and these permits will be, or these videos will be on the YouTube and the ACC page on the POA website. And there will be other things that are dealing with setbacks and easements, what you can and can't do in the easement. You cannot build a retaining wall in the utility easement. You cannot do certain things in those easements. Their easements are there for a reason. Most of the time there's utilities in them, and if you've got a stone wall on this easement and something goes wrong, they have to dig up the stone wall or blocks or whatever you got there. So before you do anything like that, you need to get a permit. And the POA, the ACC will go out and check. Yes, you're within the boundary, you're within the guidelines, you're outside the easement. Go ahead and build what you want to build for the most part. People with fences. A lot of people have fences around their property. That's one of the things you need a permit to get a fence. These are all things that the POA is looking at. I'm not going to talk about water and sewer. Chet may talk about water and sewer a little bit, but as you know, last month we had a town hall where the 5 major sewer and water projects were revealed or discussed. And there's going to be another town hall on June 25th, which is a Tuesday. It's not going to be on a Thursday like it usually is. It's going to be on a Tuesday, again at the community church on June 25th. And that's simply because there are some people that are involved in that who are not available on Thursday. They're only available on Tuesday. And we'll be revealing a lot more on the water and sewer situation at that time. With that, I thank you, and I'll turn it over back.
And last but not least, Chet, we'd love to hear from you.
Good afternoon, and Bob, I appreciate your throwing me under the bus with the water and sewer there. That was good. No, seriously. 2023 was a year, I think I have it up there. There it is. And I kind of referred to it as a year of measuring and testing and learning, because we had lots of things come to fruition in 2023. 2023 was a pivotal year in the history of this great community. One of the things I'd like to talk about today, or a few of the things, are those turning points that have happened within this community during that period of time that have kind of pushed us forward into 2024. Bob started with a bunch of numbers, and I liked them because they kind of dovetail right into mine. The numbers I'd like to use are ones that give us perspective. One of the ones he pointed out was that between 2021 and now, our population has risen by over 900 homes. Or, if you want to put that in perspective, it's really 1,800 people on average. And during that same period of time, we reached what is a goal that he pointed out that developers and builders alike look for, and they usually refer to that as the build-out perspective. And we reached 83%. Well, it's closer, somewhere between 83 and 85%, which is what the original builders of this community considered build-out. Now, that's a turning point for them, and it's a turning point for the community itself. What that means is several things are beginning to change. Up until this point, our focus was definitely progress, building. We're going to get bigger. We're going to have more. We're going to have more people coming in. We're having to adjust our infrastructure to accommodate all those things. Well, now we're getting to that point where we're not looking toward so much growth, but we're looking toward sustainability. And how do we maintain this? One of the things that comes along with that growth is the fact that, as Bob pointed out, our assessments are now beginning to plateau. What do I mean by that? There's only 90 lots left to be sold. So that means all the rest of those lots are currently paying assessments as we speak. And so the idea that next year we'll get another 300 homeowners paying assessments doesn't exist. We're now hitting that plateau. And so from that point on, we have to begin to look at how are there ways to fund our community. One of the things that most people are not aware of, and to one degree or another, is that our community is funded significantly by new homes. As people build new homes, they are buying into the community and paying for features and septic connections and all those things. All those things go into the funding of the community. And as we reach build out, those numbers begin to decline. There's just no new homes to build. So on the topics that I want to talk about, we've tried to begin to adjust. In 2023, we went to a different budget process, which is called zero-based budget. And basically all it means is instead of starting with last year's budget and then adding 3% to those numbers, we took everything back to zero and said, okay, how much do we need to spend for each one of these lines? The benefit of this, granted in some degree an academic process, was it allows us to really evaluate how we spend the money. Where are we spending the money? Is it necessary? Is it too much? Is it not enough? And each line had to be reviewed in that way. And that evaluation gave us the ability to begin to look at trends of revenue and expenses put together. Putting these real numbers together also increased our ability to look at the percentages from one year to the next. This helps us to begin to focus on weak areas. Where are we not hitting the mark when it comes to funding? Where are we not hitting the mark when it comes to expenses? And how can we address those? And that has made a change that we're carrying forward in 2024 as the continuing review of that process goes on. In 2023, we also started the process of really getting down into our reserve study. And reserves for this community is a fairly new process. It shouldn't be, but it is. And we are now evaluating that reserve process and what it does for us and how it guides us in protecting ourselves toward future expenses. One of the things that the reserve study is to help us is to guide us about what years do we need to have money set aside for in the future. When is the normal history of something lasting that long, and when does that time come to an end? One of the examples of this that becomes a little bit tricky is where you go from, all reserve studies are based on algorithms. You know, you got a house, you build it with this material, you use these kind of people, they put a roof on it, and it's going to last X number of years. And it's math. It's really all it is math. So when we get down to that, as an example, and this is not a terribly good example, but it is a good example in regards to what I'm speaking to. In our reserve study, it says that we're going to replace an entire fairway. Well, there will never be a time in the history of our golf courses where we replace an entire fairway. We're going to do sections of it, or if their grass has died, we're going to repair that. We're never going to do that entire thing. So we spread that cost out over year to year to year. Another example is roads. We're never going to do an entire road like Tokwa from beginning to end in 1 year. We're going to take sections of it, and each year we're going to maintain those sections and do repairs to them. And so those, again, can be spread out over one period of time instead of at one specific year you have $14 million for roads. So those are the things that we're trying to balance out and come into the academic versus the reality of the reserve study. We really are trying very, very hard to keep a handle on this because it is your future, it's my future that we're preparing for. And so it's important that this stays in the forefront as we budget in the future and as we evaluate our long-term expenses. Also in 2023, the community came to a culmination of a study that we've been putting together since 2018 for a master water and sewer plan. And that has come together, and we've gotten our first roadmap of the things that we need to do and why we need to do them and how we need to do them. The first thing that we came under was the realization that we needed to identify these very specific things and see how they fit into our reserve study and everything else. Under this testing and learning about these different categories of what we have ahead of us came the cost. And so we ventured out into trying a few things. We looked at the water authority, found out that we could not qualify to be a water authority, which would have been a good deal, but we can't do it. The second thing that has come up is to incorporate, would become an incorporated town. This has been brought up. I went back and looked at the history since I've only been here a year and a half. Incorporation has been brought up over 7 times in the last 15 years or so. And the answers have always come out to be about the same. I won't bore you with all those because I'm going to take a town hall and do nothing but review what it takes for us to be an incorporation and let everybody understand what that is in more detail. But what I can tell you is a kind of a little side note. Farragut was the last town in the state of Tennessee to become incorporated 30 years ago. Nothing has happened since. Let's see here. In the last weeks, we have published our action plan. Some of you have seen it in this last week. Our action plan for how we plan to attack these infrastructure issues that we have to deal with. And as Bob pointed out, while having a town hall to focus on that again. These have taken hundreds of man-hours, most of which are volunteers, people who are trying to look out for the community and look out for what is best for you. And so I hope that you all will listen when they give their presentations along with what the staff puts in, because people have put in an awful lot of time into making this happen. The next topic is a Tenacity rebuild. I'm happy to tell you that dirt is actually being moved today at Tenacity, and we are making our moves ahead. But just to recap a little bit about some of the entertainment, I'll use that term loosely, that we've gone through to get us here. In January of 2023, we looked at the original design, and the cost of it was $312 a square foot. In March, we got our first final drawings, and it was $390 a square foot. In June, we got our second pass, where we started looking at the land and what we had to manage and the building and that sort of thing, and it was $412 a square foot. By the time we finally got finished, we were up into somewhere around $423 to $444 a square foot. And we've made changes all along. And when I say those numbers of changes, those have not been things we've added. Those are purely the cost for materials that have changed that over just that period of time. So it has been a real, I guess I would call it a race, to try and get this identified and done and designed as quickly as possible, because the cost just keeps climbing. And this is true of almost every area that we work in. But I wanted you all to understand that that's how we've gotten into the whole mode of this has got to get done. We've got to really get the plan done. And it speaks to the fact that one of the things that we were really focused on, all of us, was to build to the future. We needed more parking. We needed more outside space. We needed greater seating capacity. And those are just some of the needs that we've been able to address, and that's a great thing. And this will give us back, I hope, when this amenity is completed, an amenity that we can be proud of, that we can say we have built to the future. The other thing that went on in 2023 that bled into 2024 is, at some point, the community, as well as the staff and the board, felt that we needed to reevaluate our food service and the commodity that it brings to the community. And so there was a committee put together, and they went out and reviewed 4 different vendors, and got those vendors' inputs about what they would do if they were to take over our food service. Also in the process of that, we evaluated what would it take for us to bring it back in-house and manage it ourselves. And there was a lot of discussion on it, and after a lot of discussion and conversation between the board and the committee and staff, we made the decision to bring food service back in-house. And I would like to say that so far, as of the end of this month, all of our hopes and dreams are coming to fruition. We are beginning to make it where food service is a viable commodity and a viable amenity for the community. And that really only happens because you're coming in and eating at the restaurants and patronizing those restaurants. And we are striving to make the service better, the food and the quality better. And people have put just a significant amount of effort to make sure this will happen. And in 2024, it is beginning to come around, and I'm very pleased that we are able to make those kind of progress. The last topic I want to talk about is the reserve funding fee. And we brought that up in 2023, and the legislation never got it on the floor. So it died in the House there. I'm bringing it up again this year, and I would like to cover a couple background reasons why, and I've talked about them a little bit so far. One of them is, as we are building out, we are losing revenue. We no longer have these consistent revenues of putting in septic tanks and all these other things that bring it in. 2023, that particular source of revenue was $1.6 million. So that's going to go away. And I have to find another way to review this. And the reserve funding fee is specifically driven to fund the reserves, to keep our reserves funded and to add that direction. It's not to go into operations, it's not to fund anything else but the reserves. And it is driven by home sales. And the one thing that we can continue to count on is the resale of homes. And so this has the potential of being a continual source of revenue, coming in on a monthly and yearly basis. And it's to balance out the loss of revenue that we're having as we now mature to a built-out community. And I say that is a good thing, because we're now in that area and that stage where we get to really focus on our sustainability, on the quality of our life, on the quality of our community. And I think that's where my focus and the staff's focus is going to be sure that we are perpetuating that. So I guess really the way I'd like to close this is to say that Tellico Village is more than just one of the largest communities in Tennessee. It is more than one of the most beautiful waterfront communities in the state. It is more than some of the best golf in the state. It is our home. It is my home. And I want to protect it as the best I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ched. Thank you to all the speakers for coming out. We really appreciate it. Very informative session. We do want to open it up to any questions that the audience might have. Normal drill, the speaker is in the front, and you have to hit the button, and it's even labeled. But if you have a question, just state your name, who the question is directed to, and what the question is. You guys must have done a great job. Would you like to ask a question? Please come up to the microphone. Okay.
My name is Finbar. It's Finbar. I live on Sassaway. Purchased just a year ago yesterday. Lived there with my beautiful wife, beautiful dog. No, I'm sorry, beautiful wife and dutiful dog, Max. My wife's Lisa. I'm pretty sure. I better be. We're from New Jersey. She's dangerous, possibly. But kidding aside, a couple things to what Bob discussed. I met a couple, 4 guys from Columbus, Ohio, last week at Tokwa, and they were renting. The street name I'm still getting familiar in here, but about 35, 40-year-old guys, real nice. They were a little tuned by this point, but nice guys. They actually invited me and one guy back to the place. We had a beer with them. I was intrigued with the fact that they came here for a golf vacation. I thought that was great. I golf a little myself, but that this was a destination golf place, as compared to the Carolinas or Florida or Arizona. I thought that was terrific, and they were great guys. They weren't, playing music till 10 at night. I mean, again, they just were really great people, and I thought that was terrific. Secondly, I know Mr. Kevin. I'm now a volunteer with TVN for a couple months. You're not likely to see my face on the air, as they say I have a good face for radio. So I'm trying to help out, learn some video editing and grunt work, and I've run the camera a little bit at the church, and so I'm learning some stuff. And as the HOA gentleman mentioned, Kevin and the people really do a terrific job, and it's really been a joy so far to be learning and trying to help out, and it's getting acclimated with the community. And, third, I'd just like to say, I moved, I said I purchased last June. We moved in October, and just love it here. I mean, we couldn't be happier. I never crossed the state line into the volunteer state until about 3 years ago. I'd never, ever been here. Don't know anyone, have no family, no business affiliation, but we just took an immediate, loving to it. And, fortunately, we wound up in this community. And again, just so happy to be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome. Glad you're here.
Hello, My name is Linda Fall, and my husband Tom and I live here in Tellico Village. And I have a question for the young lady about the Vonore Public Library. She
Judy
left.
Yeah, Judy Bonnell had to leave. If you have a question, though, if you could pass it on to me, and I'll make sure that I
Sure.
get you an answer.
I was just interested, I discovered recently that I have ancestors from Madisonville, and was wondering whether or not they had any genealogy resources there, but I will do that. Thank you.
I will get that question to her.
I'm Donna Rodzinski. I've lived here 2.5 years, and I'm a retired librarian, and I'm also an avid genealogist. And I'm happy to say that the public library at Tellico Village will soon be having a rollout of a genealogy feature. I've been able to get us affiliate library status with Family Search, which is the genealogy part of the Mormon Church. And that means that we will be having special access to records that people can't have at home. So once we get that rolled out, we are also hoping to have more more variety and more classes in genealogy. So I hope that at least by September, we're hoping to get that rolled out.
Great. Thank you. There we, come on up.
My wife Linda had spoken about the genealogy question. My name is Tom, and I was wondering, there was a time, it seems, in the recent past where the Loudoun Utility Board or their water department was going to be building a water tower on our property? On their property? Okay.
So
That's still going on, and
They had offered to build well, I'll see if I can give you a better description. Have you seen the water tower that's up behind where the wellness center is? If you look across the way, there's a green tower there. Go about 4 miles down that road and you'll see another tower exactly like it, and that's on LUBs. And they built that there to try and boost the volume of water coming into the community. And that was so far been a very isolated fix. It didn't really give us what we wanted to, but that was the tower you're speaking of.
Okay.
That was what they offered to do, and they built it there, and it was to also give them more volume in that area as well for their own deliveries.
and that has proven to be less than effective?
I would say that was, they thought it was going to do more than it actually did. And as we look at it, it has increased in certain areas, our volume, but the overall volume it produced was not sufficient at all. One of the things we came up with in 2023 that we realized.
Okay. Are the plans that we have in place now to alleviate some of these problems for our community from our own resources?
Absolutely correct.
Are any of those in conjunction with any planning with the Loudoun Water Department or not?
So here's where the interesting part comes in. They've got a grant now. They're putting in a new water purification plant and a new water treatment plant. Obviously, one for potable water, one for sewer. The sewer plant that they are putting in is huge. It would like quadruple their ability to take in septic. The problem with this design that we came across, because I was very excited about this. This is something that would solve a multitude of sins for us. The thing they aren't upgrading is the pump that picks up our septic and runs it to that station. So therefore, the amount we get today is the same amount we'll get when they have a huge building that can take twice as much, and we're only still going to be able to put in that amount. And so until they upgrade that pump, we really won't get a tremendous amount of benefit from that.
Do you anticipate that that's something that they will want to do?
I anticipate that we're going to put every amount of pressure that we can to be sure that is what they want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I believe we're going to wrap up for the evening. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you at the next program.